A neighbor opened a window. I thought of how pleasantries between neighbors lift up the spirit, no matter your fate. A touch, a smile gives courage. This is a gentle resistance to the powers that be. We take a tram and then a bus. We hear about the building of the camp by the Austro-Hungarian Empire for political prisoners. We drive in through the outer gate, I think, the door of no return. This is the name of the outer gate in the slave forts in Ghana, West Africa, through which those Africans were taken to be enslaved, tormented, and brutalized in America. We go in. We chat with Germans seeking to understand their history. We are told to stand alongside a wall where the captives in my family stood. We are told that they were beaten while standing. We are shown the door to the room where they surrendered their clothes, their identities, for prison clothes. The concentration camp commandant was apparently particularly brutal and was selected for that reason. I think of Pontius Pilate in Judea, who was selected for exactly the same reason. We go through the bedrooms with the huge bunks or sleeping platforms for many, many people, like on the slave ships. Only one toilet in the corner, a rudimentary surgery in the next room for the sick. My great-grandfather, a doctor, would have been appalled. I see the large public showers, then we see the places outside to stand for a long period of time for orders each day before being sent out to forced labor. I thought of my great-grandfather trying to be as dignified as possible throughout. We see the place where the Jewish musicians were compelled to play for the Nazi officers, yet only compulsory music, not the music they might want to play. I am reminded of Afghanistan, where I visited in 2002. Residents told me that the Taliban would listen at the windows of homes for any forbidden music. They would arrest the occupants if they heard any. They said Taliban Islam is not Islam. Fascists always try to control creativity and music. How did I get through this day without being more shaken? Before going into the inner camp, the bus stopped at a large field where the bones of the prisoners had been buried. First, we were ushered into a crematorium. This was not the horror of Auschwitz, where people still living. Rather, it was the disposal room, if you will, of people who had been worked to death. Their bodies were burned, and their bones buried in the field outside. I knew deep within me that this was the place for my 9 tiny stones. I headed into the field, hoping I would be guided to the right place. A sparrow flew by, for his eye is on the sparrow, and he watches over me, as the psalm says. It alighted in a large tree where I leaned to rest, as I do in the woods back home. The sparrow then flew into the woods beside the field, so I followed to the edge of the field. There I found a marker labeled 60. There were numbered markers all over the field, but 1960 is the year of my birth, so I turned my back, threw the 9 tiny stones over my left shoulder, knelt and picked up a tiny white stone for the stream back home, washed forever in its cool North American waters. So my soul was at peace for this whole journey, and I knew their bones are at peace in that land near the trees, no matter the evil of the people who walked there at that time. I'd also planned to look for some beauty after the horror. I'd called a Jewish friend before I went and asked, help, what do I do? How do I cope with this experience? What have you